No. About to say, why is there no audio coming out of this? But that's fine. Ooh, okay, we were just in the middle of cross-examining Gumshoe, apparently. We have a flashback back to actual Phoenix Wright case. Well, not one from the previous case, but okay. Actually, the victim kind of ordered the defendant to do it, man. Just because he got the letter doesn't mean he went through with it. Oh, I disagree. The victim was indeed shot in the forehead after all, just as he had commanded. It could be a setup. But let's not be in such a hurry. Maybe we should let the witness talk for a change. Thanks, pal. Fine. I can play it as slow as well as I can play it fast. On with the testimony, Detective Gumshoe. A few days before it happened, the victim sent a letter ordering his own murder. And this letter was sent by the victim? There it is. Gotcha. You're all mine this time, pal. Huh? The handwriting checked out, of course. It's a victim's, no mistake. Ah, I see. Score one for the boys. No! Not the boys. I didn't lose. I was just ascertaining the facts. So why am I so annoyed? But a letter ordering your own death? Things aren't what they used to be, I guess. I'm not sure this is exactly commonplace, even now, Your Honor. So anyway, I guess I'll keep going while I'm ahead. The defendant did what was asked of him and shot the old man in the forehead. How can you be so sure? Hey, you gotta learn to stop relying on people to do your thinking for you, pal. Learn to think for yourself. Get that noggin cranking. You fail to grasp the concept of questioning, Detective. First, we got this letter. It says, shoot in the forehead, loud and clear. I can see that, but I still wouldn't do it. Well, maybe you need to grow yourself a backbone, pal. You fail to grasp the concept of shooting people is bad, Detective. We also found the defendant's pistol at the scene. Traces of gunpowder residue shows that it had been fired recently. Well, Mr. Wright? As far as I can tell from looking at this photo, there seems to be no issue with the prosecution's claim. Why did they take the IV out? The photo. Maybe there's something in there I can use. Like, the whole point of them showing up at the time was because the IV would be in. Why you take the IV out of someone you're going to shoot? Or maybe, you know... Would you take the IV out if you're expecting to be killed? And be like, you know, I don't need this. Anyway. The photo. Maybe there's something in there I can use. So they're saying the defendant shot the victim in the forehead? I think there's a hole in the prosecution's argument. Clearly, Mr. Enigma didn't pull the trigger, shot something else. I have no clue. So, one big question. This fella who's been shot in the head, there is no... Where is the blood? Where is the blood? This is the person who's been shot in the head. Otherwise untampered with scene, apparently. No blood. I mean, sure. The Nintendo game, and maybe they do not show all the blood. Nevertheless. Interestingly enough, it says you will shoot one shot square in the forehead. It does not say in my forehead, which, okay, grammar could be probably a bit more natural this way, but it is deliberately ambiguous as to who is getting shot. It will lower his life's curtain, sure, but no one said that shooting him in his own forehead is the instrument for that to happen. Shenanigans. He shot something else. Looking at this photo, another possibility occurs to me. Oh, good heck. I just hit the advanced game button. No! It thinks we're playing Mario. It's not true. Hold on a second. Change it back! Alright, let's hope this works. That's a mess. Nope, that went back to Mario. Okay, now it's back to... Oh, good heck. These buttons are too touchy. Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of little magic that goes on when I hit that button too. So it like stops the recording, restarts the recording, and it's fun stuff. Luckily, it shouldn't actually do anything to the stream itself. Anyway, looking at this photo, another possibility occurs to me. Yes? What does the letter tell us? That the defendant had a reason he couldn't refuse his teacher's wishes. Bingo, pal. That's why the defendant popped him one in the forehead. Oh, the defense disagrees. You see, the defendant had another choice he could make.
Objection!
What? And you can prove that with this photo? I can prove he had a choice, yes. The defendant might have fired like he was ordered, but he didn't shoot the victim's forehead. Well, let's hear what you're thinking, Mr. Wright. If he didn't shoot the victim's forehead, what did the defendant shoot? This thing's forehead.
Take that!
The clown doll. Take a closer look. See? It's been shot in the forehead, too. Ah, there's a hole in its forehead. Hydrate? Yeah, I guess I can do that. Thank you, Irish Mail. Ah, there's a hole in its forehead. Yes, and a hole in the prosecution's claim.
Objection!
Ha! And I suppose you have a reason as to why he'd shoot the clown doll? He didn't just shoot the doll, he shot the doll's forehead. His forehead? Ah. Let's read the orders once more, shall we? You will shoot one shot square in the forehead, which is exactly what he did. He shot the clown doll square in the forehead. The defense has raised an intriguing possibility. That hole in the clown's forehead, it definitely looks like it was shot. Bailiff, send someone to investigate this matter. Why would it not have already been in back?
Objection!
I admit I'm impressed, but I expected nothing less. Still, this doesn't mean he didn't shoot the victim.
Objection!
Perhaps he did have to shoot a forehead as ordered. Actually, hold on. I don't have the gun as evidence to say how many times it had been fired. A fella could try. Perhaps he did have to shoot a forehead as ordered, but the letter says nothing about whose forehead. This was the only way he had to follow his orders without taking a life.
The bullet hole in the clown doll's forehead does demand an explanation. It might very well be a clue. Yet Prosecutor Gavin is right. It alone does not prove the defendant's innocence. You cannot say for sure the defendant didn't shoot the victim.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. How sad it is to see the mighty fall. How sad it is to see the novice's overconfidence. He doesn't realize just how big this little hole is going to get. Oink.
Detective Gumshoe, please take this newfound fact into account as you continue your testimony.
So what if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal.
Hold it!
So let me get this straight. You're saying my client first shot the clown, then shot the victim? Not a bad summary, pal. More of a confirmation than a summary, but whatever. That was really more of a confirmation than a summary. But our defense attorney seems pleased enough with himself. Do these people ever miss a chance to mock me? Well, now that Mr. Wright's gotten that out of his system, shall we continue with the testimony? I didn't have time to gather all the details before coming in here. This testimony might be my only source of information. Better pay attention and read this letter carefully. Okay, alright, so, hold on. The mysterious paper. This is the goodbye note. Less than 10 swift minutes remain. Fate's clock will make me wait a little longer. All this is shenanigans. Very important badge, proving my identity. Malignant tumor. Chronic diabetes. 13th at 11:05. Estimated time of death 11 to 11:30. Okay, so I mean, we added that one extra line. Did he? Oh wait, we didn't go through everything. We stopped at, Did we go through everything? No, I don't even remember. Oh, what was the last one we read? So what if he shot the clown, he still shot the victim? And that was after... Everything is in green. Oh, choices, okay. Oh no! I'm looking. Howdy do, guy. Oh no. Okay, so Defendant Disaster and shot the old man in the forehead. Okay, that was where we got in the bark, whatever. From here. The bullet was fired from the pistol found at the scene, no doubt about it. Did we talk about that? You mean this pistol, the one in the crime scene photo? That's the one. It's a funny looking gun, so there's no mistaking it. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with a bullet fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. So, you verified the murder weapon, in other words. You bet we did. And the pistol definitely belonged to the old man, sir.
Hold it!
Why are you so certain? What pile of sand has your head been stuck in all this time, pal? You never heard of Zack and Fallon's quick draw shooting? Huh? What's that? One of the defendant's specialties. Zack and Fallon stand on either side of a girl. Then they shoot. But the bullets don't hit them. Instead, they hit everything else on stage. This was one of the pistols they used in their show. So, it's specifically a gun notorious for not shooting, or for, you know, for not killing the things it's aimed at? Got a great design, huh? Kids love it. Many boys and girls joined the police because of that pistol, I hear. Oh, good heck. You know, that would explain a lot about the police force. Troop Garmory stopped doing that act a while ago. The old man held on to that pistol ever since.
The court would like to see the pistol in question.
You got it, sir. Here she is.
Well, this truly is a blast from the past.
It's a stage pistol for magic shows, see? But it can fire real bullets.
It looks so much bigger in real life than on TV.
Yeah, but it can only hold one round. But... Well, there you go. By the way, the pistol's firing chamber is empty. And it shows traces of having been fired recently. So, were any fingerprints found on the gun? Okay, so it only holds one bullet, and they've confirmed that it was bark, bark, bark. So I go back to that dialogue, and then when he says he shot the doll and also the guy, then we can say bark, 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 bark. It's bigger in person. Isn't the camera supposed to add 10 pounds? Anyway, so were any fingerprints found on the gun? Unfortunately, no. Of course, the defendant is known for wearing gloves. We might say that a lack of fingerprints is, in fact, a fingerprint of its own.
Aha! An intriguing point. Well made.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not well made. Not intriguing.
In any case, the court accepts this evidence. Stage pistol added to the court record. Fires one real bullet. Barrel marks match bullet found in victim. No fingerprints found. My grandchild would get a kick out of seeing this. But now it's time to return to our testimony.
So what if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal. Okay, we already pressed that, so let's go ahead and present. Oink.
Objection!
The trickiest cases often seem the simplest. Prosecutor Gavin, you missed the bullet hole in the clown's forehead. If you hadn't missed that, you might have come to a very different conclusion. Understand?
Yeah, but like I just said, pal, after he shot the clown in the forehead, he went in and,
Objection!
Did nothing of the sort to the victim. The pistol proves he could not.
The murder weapon? How?
It's quite simple, Your Honor. This pistol only holds one bullet at a time.
Ah!
If he had shot the clown in the forehead, he couldn't have shot the victim, too.
Yeah!
Objection!
That's not a contradiction. Not even close. All he had to do was reload the pistol after the first shot. Yeah, and no one would come running in a hospital?
Objection!
Oh, where did he get the extra bullet? They're not so easy to come by, you know. If you claim the defendant had one ready, then prove to us how he got it. I had a feeling this wasn't over yet. No, this party's just getting started. And I haven't proven anything yet beyond my good looks and startling record sales. And utter lack of humility.
What's this? It seems that the prosecution has another witness prepared.
Like I said, Herr Detective was just the warm-up act. Poor fella. Now that the audience has gotten a taste of what's to come, they're ready. Ready for what? For my decisive witness, of course. A witness who, you will find, can prove one thing for us. That it was Zach Gramery who shot the victim in the forehead.
Very well. We will pause for a 15-minute recess.
This might be my lucky break. I'll need that 15 minutes to talk to my client, Zach.
Court is adjourned.
To be continued. Right now. Save your current progress? Yeah, sure. I'll do that. I like how there's a different photo here in the past. April 19, 11:21 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. Or are we outside a different lobby? Or were the other ones in Lobby 3? Anyway.
Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less.
We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually.
I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know.
I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened?
Ah, the way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You're scared, Trucy.
Speaking of which, where is she?
You have seen the problem yourself. The letter.
The one shot in the forehead one, right?
Yes, and the reason he speaks of. I could not deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death.
Why not?
This is something I will not say, for now at least.
What's this for now business?
I have done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves.
We?
You wanted to know about the night of the incident.
Finally, this guy sure likes to take his time getting to the important stuff.
Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols.
Oh no.
2? Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valent.
Oh, for the Zack and Valent's quick draw thing.
My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then, for a moment.
You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him?
Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first.
So, there were other requests you couldn't refuse before?
To be honest, I've not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Trucy.
Was Magnify coercing his disciples somehow? just what was going on in Troop Grammary. Yet, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. In your pocket? I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor. What were those called? Rifling marks. Yes, well, that is all I have to tell you concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me? You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks. Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes opened. What? Magnify Grammary? The old devil, he was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, maybe 5-10 minutes or so. What did you talk about? Mr. Wright, did I not just tell you? It does not concern this case. Zach Grammary. He seems pretty steadfast to me, or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right. Let's get back in there.
April 19, 11:37 a.m. District Court, Courtroom number 7. Court is now back in session. During our recess, a bullet was found in and dug out from the clown's head. Well, this is news. And the rifling marks? There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis, though they did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness.
Your decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think.
Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of Troop Grammary's famous duo, Zach and Valent.
Valent Grammary. So we get to meet the great Magnify's other disciple.
Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation.
Valent Grammary, magician.
And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student, your partner's guilt?
Fate, the grand illusion, filled with traps and tricks. Wait, the shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock at night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late? If one were to deduce this logically, the conclusion is yes. Okay. I always get the characters, don't I?
I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this.
Oh no.
To my beloved student Valent. To you I entrust the task of lowering my life's curtain. Come on the 13th, 11:20 p.m. I will ready a gun with which you will shoot one shot square in the forehead. You cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why. So Zach was supposed to be at 11:05, and Valent at 11:20. But oh no. Anyway, my witness received this. That looks very familiar.
Wait. That's the same letter Zach Grammary received.
Yes. Or perhaps I should say, ta-da. Order, order, order. And what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. Yeah, the time is different. Why, it's practically the same in the name. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnifies second letter added to the court record. Telling valid to come at 11:20. This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your troop Grammary up to? By which you mean? I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion, Herr Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is strain, a warping of relations, you might say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us? Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they couldn't refuse. Well, let's get on to the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zach Grammary, stands accused. Tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. Yes, and now it's time to get this party fired up. Witness testimony. The night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room with the time magnifier requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So, you shot the clown after the person was already dead? Bark. Bark. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime? Indeed. I would think this fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions of this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Grammary, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zach Grammary, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. If it's either of them, it's very bad, because one is a sad story for Trucy, and the other is this guy is shady dealings for later? The night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifier requested.
Hold it!
Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m. Indeed. In magic, timing's everything. Right. Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double is left, how would that look? Why, it will reveal the very secrets of my magic. Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for all of us, let's move on. You went at the designated time, and what did you see? The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow.
Hold it!
So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all? I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby? I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination. Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid. Wow. Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination.
The witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things.
I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions.
Hold it!
Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse. So it does. And my partner, he did not refuse. But Magnify wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zack couldn't? Because I have a will of steel. Of course. I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't all so strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown.
Hold it!
There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you? No doubt my partner Zack has said much the same thing, except Zack was there first. He had a different gun. The gun that was left, that you did the shooting with, is the one tied to the bullet that was in the victim's head. Bark, bark, bark. No doubt my partner Zack has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. I'd better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask about something else concerning the crime scene. Namely... I could ask about a lot of these things. I don't care about the location of the pistol. The number of pistols... There would necessarily be one? Well, I can ask him about him. If he doesn't know... Yeah, actually, if he confirms there was only one pistol, then the one shot has to be the one that he shot the guy with. Because bark, bark, bark. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zack and Valent quick-draw shoot-up, correct? 1 for each of you. You're well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. What did Zack tell me back in the lobby?
Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all.
So you picked up that pistol and fired it?
Indeed I did.
Alakazam, alakazing, alakaboom.
Is the number of pistols really so important?
Quite important, yes. The number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor.
Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony.
What can I do but obey?
Only 1 pistol was in the hospital room that night. With it, I shot the clown.
Hold it!
So you took the only pistol there and fired it?
That's correct.
And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene?
Good show. I see you too are a magician of sorts.
And you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said?
I see the fire in your eyes as you glare at the witness. So how about heating up this trial a bit? These slow ballads bore me.
I've got a hunch, but maybe that's all that is. Maybe I should ask about something else. Okay, this is okay. No, we're good as far as I care. Right? On second thought, let's run with this testimony for a while longer. Then I informed the doctor and the police.
Hold it!
So you informed the police. What did you do then? What do you suppose I did? Used my magic to levitate my mentor's corpse, perhaps? I don't know, and that's why I'm asking. Now please answer the question and skip the sarcasm. After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed the stomach medicine. We've confirmed this with the doctor, and all checks out. He praised Mr. Vallant's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact. It is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept. Both of Magnify's students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired, and one of them killed Magnify. Time to find the cracks in his testimony. Alright, so clearly him saying he shot the bark. So, first off, fires 1 bullet, barrel marks match the bullet found in the victim. So this is the obvious contradiction. If it says it's bad, I'm gonna bark.
Objection!
According to the defendant, Zach Grammary, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2? One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. And then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Vallant has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Vallant. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from his gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Mr. Vallant, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order. Well, this is all rather sudden.
Objection!
What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proved the type of gun that fired them.
Objection!
But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning! I am still young. And, I might add, it wasn't really my fault. Oh, good head. Hydrating. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now.
Valent Grammary,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive.
Objection!
You'll see in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. As his next testimony will prove, Herr Wright, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. You're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi is easy to explain in this situation, Herr Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff! Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well. The prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times, and we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Heck, I hate these. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on, Wright. No, carry on, Mr. Wright. Cross-examination. Okay, so when they say that, I believe that means no pressing unless we know something actually pressable, right? Fine. Who shot what? Alright, so first off, what was the most obvious shenanigan here? You arrived at 11:20, you fulfilled your obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. Quite clear about the time of death, so why isn't that in the autopsy? And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. An alibi over a matter of minutes. Precise is right. And pressing with impunity will earn me a nice penalty, too. That's not what with impunity means. I would love to press with impunity. But impunity means not getting punished. Then puni is the same puni as in punish. Bark, bark, bark. Better focus on one thing. This time of death. Okay, so yeah, I think that this is the autopsy. Quite clear at 11:10.
But the thing is, why? That's a whole half hour in the autopsy report. That's my guess. Wait. Am I allowed to press if it's sensible? I'm gonna press before I ask, but I'm also gonna save bark.
Hold it!
I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time?
We do usually only get an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard a verified time of death.
Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction.
I see another person has done their arithmetic homework.
The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. As having been removed, recall what we heard earlier about the victim Magnify Grammary's schedule. Every night at 11, Magnify took an IV drip for 30 minutes.
I can see the IV bag right there, yes.
Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end.
Ah, the needle's been removed.
Yes. Doubtlessly it fell out when he was shot.
That would seem to be the case.
When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. Ah, you could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions, for our purposes, as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. IV report entered the court record. Approximately 10 minutes had passed since the IV began. There you go. And so it was. When I, Valent, entered that room, 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof.
Well, Mr. Wright?
Did that seem important? I mean, I got a whole new piece of evidence. Yeah. I mean, I have to say it's important, because if it wasn't important, then I'll get penalized, right? Slingshots, malignant tumor. Only less than 10 swift minutes remain. Wait. Okay, so Fate's clock will make me wait a little longer. Less than 10 minutes remain. So he's talking about Zach coming by and not shooting him. So he was still alive 10 minutes before. Yeah. Less than 10 swift minutes. So he was already after 11:10 when he wrote that note. Very important. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important.
Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add his detail to his testimony.
Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Am I allowed to press him? I want to say no. See, this is where I want to object, because, you know... Like, it proves it couldn't have been... What? Like, it couldn't have been pulled out after a certain point, but just because when it was pulled out doesn't necessarily... I don't know. Well, let's see if pressing this destroys me. Or... Well, yeah, we'll talk first, then we'll see if we can show the thing. Did you notice the IV yourself, by any chance? When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my bent forehead. And then his left arm did I spy, rose, drooping and wilted. A rose? Its thorn, the discarded IV needle. Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed. Even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self. For it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magician's Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, I was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy, a bust. Ah, what a day that was. This is one trip down memory lane no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed, and that IV too. I say, I think it was hewed especially for me, that. In other words, you think it's yellow? Because in the bag, blue plus yellow is green. But you wouldn't see that unless it had indeed continued to spill out, which it should not have done, right? Is this just a fresh bag? Separately? I don't know. Shenanigans. Anyway, I say, I think it was hewed especially for me, Valent.
That does seem to be the case, indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony?
Valent sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? There's a contradiction. It certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck. But not this time. Mr. Valent, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence.
What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based.
Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here. They belong to us.
Very well, let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us?
Okay, so... the IV is not in the lucky color.
With great justice.
Yes, with Apollo justice. The crime scene tells all, Your Honor.
The photo of the crime scene?
All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us how right, just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white.
Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony?
The green. Right?
Take that!
Valant Grammary, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes? Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes.
Is something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright?
Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene.
What's this?
Also not like people could remove some liquid with the needle at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly something is tampered with. Like, my guess is, you know, maybe he refilled it with some yellow fluid, and that's why he knows it's yellow. I don't know. Confusion, tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy?
Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valent. Look at that IV bag.
Ah! What is this? What foul magic? It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. No! Rabbits. Oh no.
Order. What does this mean?
Objection!
This is some kind of mistake.
Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Your witness's mistake.
The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valant Grammary, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is a yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can mean only one thing.
Objection!
And to think you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright.
This is something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin. As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence.
Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you the liquid itself is quite yellow.
Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green.
Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook?
It looks like I want to say light blue.
Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color.
I see. Your explanation does have the ring of truth to it.
Objection!
Oh yeah, he took some out then.
Yeah, or added some in. It's been altered. He messed with it. And that's why he knows. Because Gavin specifically said that once the thing was pulled out, it wouldn't drip anymore. So it wasn't dripping because of, like, he couldn't see it just from it dripping. As I thought, there's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. I mean, unless it was being fed through some kind of transparent tube, which they always are, but we're not gonna touch that. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes, But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Hakazo MG!
Order, order, order. Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what?
I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valant Gravery, has testified that the IV liquid was yellow because...
So this is a lie, because we just got done saying you can only think of one possibility. There are three options. Not because he'd seen it before. Not because he knew the IV liquid's color. Is it because it looked yellow? Is that the way that we say that he tampered with it? Because he looked at it directly?
There was a reason the IV liquid looked yellow to the witness. I bet.
Mr. Wright? That I bet at the end there, it worries me. Am I right in the assumption that you hope that there's a reason? Not no?
Perhaps. Yes. Definitely. Let me say it. I know. Even if Phoenix doesn't.
Then allow me to crush that hope as gentle and gentlemanly as I can.
One more chance, please. I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. This is the lie. Contradiction. Objection. The witness, Valant Gravery, has testified that the IV liquid is yellow because he'd seen it before. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. He saw the liquid by itself in a clear, colorless bag.
I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means.
Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? Well, that's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leave the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bopper fans, yeah?
Objection!
The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin.
I remember it well.
However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag.
Wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right, right?
As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body, at which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in.
Objection!
Let me get this straight here, right? You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag?
Not with water, but with IV liquid. And that's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow.
Now wait, I said wait. How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task?
Objection!
I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup.
Objection!
I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? Here's a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag.
You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death.
I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to Earth?
Valiant gramarye. I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime.
Might ask what you're strongly suggesting.
Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop was... the syringe. That's actually probably a good idea. It's weird. It's weird, but it's doable. How much would you be putting in, though? Like, that's not a huge syringe. What was the deal about it? Just that it had never been, I always hated getting shots. I guess Magnify was giving himself the insulin shots. There's no way I could do that. Oh, wait. If Magnify used this to inject his insulin, well, why are there no traces of it having been used? Something to keep in mind. I mean, you did have all this bark. Alright, we'll finger the syringe. Because, I mean, I would have shown this for some of the things he said. But this is not a prompt that is, a prop that is used to fill a bag. This, however, is.
The victim's
Also,
syringe.
the kid next to it.
The kids next to it. Yeah, there were more things in there.
The victim's syringe.
It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick. And easy enough for an amateur to use. What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean. Not a trace of liquid in it.
Objection!
And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valiant gramarye? As you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could have manipulated will. Alakazaa!
I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today.
Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work.
I see there are no objections. Court is Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word of the wise. Underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you. In a way you never, ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking.
What's he talking about?
You say the witness used a syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid, but there is no proof.
There's no proof he didn't do it either.
Yes, quite true.
He's admitting it?
Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hope. This I admit. After all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much? You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Proof, Herr Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. Oh, is that the forged diary that we heard about that brought us here in the first place? What's this?
Oh no! Is this the forged evidence? Oh no!
This is the victim, Magnify Grammary's diary.
Diary?
After going into the hospital, Magnify began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death.
Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request?
Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night.
Oh, right. That's the book right here. The book he was literally writing in. That page torn out is the one that we have.
Theoretically.
Again, forgeries.
Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Tonight's IV is in. Maybe the last. I leave the rest to them. The first should come soon. His journal may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen. This does appear to have been written just before his death. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnify's diary out of the court record. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. His hand? Of course, by his, he refers to our defendant, Zach Grammarly. That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here, or it may go on. It may go on. Magnify Grammarly intended to write again. That is, if Zach Grammarly didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. So this... Oh, hold on. The book! Okay. Does that have any signs of being a forgery? Diary. Okay, so the thing we read...
This is the last page. The diary ends here. Huh? What's this? It looks like a page was ripped out. Well now, isn't that interesting?
Okay, so that's what we expected. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. Because Magnify's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Grammarly. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Gavin. Are you certain that Magnify Grammarly wrote this? There is no mistaking his handwriting. Ooh, that's shady language. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnify did intend to continue his diary. Yet if his diary entered here, which plainly it did, And the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Grammary. Well, how do you like me now, Herr Wright? Still too green for your tastes, hmm?
He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence.
Well, Mr. Wright, the witness testimony we heard was lacking, but put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case.
If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. I don't want to, but I have to. I must be complicit at his partaking of the forgery. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence.
What? You have some evidence that overturns his diary?
It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment.
Very well. Please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright.
Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown the court. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued to write in his diary. All right, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is the extra page, but no.
Take that!
First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has clearly been ripped out. Stop right there. Shows that more was written and it was removed. Don't try to show the back. I know it's back.
What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all.
And that's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Alec, I don't believe it. Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnify Grammary. That's the defense's position.
Wait, let me see that. What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary.
Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnify's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all of this means, Herr Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Grammary left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valiant Grammary. No!
The handwriting, too, matches that on the other pages. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. Order.
But wait, that's impossible. He knows it's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Herr Judge?
Yes, Prosecutor Gavin.
Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness.
But Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witness's I ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 100% real. Oh no. 5 minutes. No more. Speaking of minutes, we're burning through our Mario time with all this, because it's not giving us a place to juncture, a place to stop. It's okay, but I keep feeling like I'm failing at my promises. Anyway, 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way, Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So it might as well be sooner. Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. Who would it be? I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped-out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. The forger. Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal? Hydrate? Yeah, I guess we could do that. Bark. Oink.
SUS.
Sus. Super sus. The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Very well. And you are the witness, I gather? Ah, yes, sir.
I bribed him with this.
State your name and occupation for the record. My name is Drew Misham. I'm a painter. A painter? And you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah, I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before?
They could get a rubbing off the page from the book.
Well, I mean, he's the forger. Oh, yeah. I mean, I made it.
You... what? You made it?
Yes. You might call it one of my works. The prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Gramarye. Illegal evidence? I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Misham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words.
Forgeries?
Well, so, we're to understand that this page here is fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney.
It's a setup.
Objection!
Hold it. I didn't prepare this evidence.
Objection!
The attorney speaks. There's something about this page, I presume.
But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix, right?
Witness? Mr. Misham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who was your client?
That I don't know.
What?
Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want, and they and receive my payment.
He should have said he got it from someone.
We really just found it. Like, it's literally a mysterious paper received just before the trial. That's the extent of my contact with them.
Objection!
But there's no proof this is a fake.
We accept his own witness. It's a fake.
Huh?
To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine.
Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to this court. My court.
It was careless of me. That's all I can say.
Oh, old boy. Here.
Little girl. What's this?
I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair.
Sentenced to wear a beanie? It's worse than this. She.
Complicit.
And then, after ruining his life, he adopts her? Bark, bark, bark. He's her daddy because he failed to defend her actual daddy?
They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important.
It was all a trap. A fatal trap.
Mr. Wright,
Yes?
do you have an explanation for yourself?
Not one that would hold up in court. If I did, would the court hear it?
Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court a serious mistake.
This is why evidence law says it has to be proved by the police first. We didn't bark, bark, bark.
A fatal mistake for an attorney.
No, he's not gonna die.
Fatal, too, perhaps, for your client, I fear.
No.
Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one.
Objection!
Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime, but you cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wright.
Your Honor?
Like, you did authorize him to be your representative. Or, pronouns correctly on that sentence.
Another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed.
Mr. Attorney. Yes? Could I ask your name? Hmm? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright, I've seen and studied many people, but none like you. I remember you, Mr. Wright.
Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. I hope he could. However, this court must. Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zack? There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict when your defendant does not exist? What are you talking about? I'm talking about this. Mr. Enigma! The defendant's escaped. Find him quick. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. Wow. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigma, aka Zack Grammary, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day. Until the statute of limitations run out? No, wait, you're the one who bark. This is the Grammary miracle. No verdict was declared. Interesting. After all, the defendant didn't exist. You didn't have to believe that, but it was the judge, I guess. He probably did. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Zack Grammary vanished, along with him, for all eternity. Yeah, that's how that worked. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however, but not until 7 years later. To be continued, but not today.
Okay.